What's crack-a-lackin', everybody? Money Smart Guy Matt Sapala here, hailing to you from Dallas, Texas, and we're back again after a week out. We were in the Bahamas last week, but now we're back in the saddle. And here we are in episode 29. In studio with me is my co-host, my trainer, my boy, Milton Alvarez. What's going on, brother?
Happy Thursday, man.
Missed you last week, man.
You look darker. Look like you had a good time, brother.
It was a blast, man. Bahamas, I didn't realize it was so close. It's actually closer to get to the Bahamas than to California.
How far is it?
Hours.
Less than 3 hours. No, sure.
Not even a chance to turn on a movie or even finish one. You know, it's that fast to get out there, you know. But listen, the last 3 times I was out in the Bahamas, it was 1996. I did a counter-drug mission with the Marines, and we were working with DEA. And anyway, we intercepted some planes. But this time around, as a civilian, we're actually able to see one of the crash sites of a drug plane going from the Bahamas into Miami. So that's called Zuma Island. So Patrick and David took us out there. And
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, Pablo Escobar. It's right.
Pablo Escobar. You guys went to his party house and everything.
We did.
That was beautiful, man.
So if you ever saw Narcos. That's it, on Netflix. Then the next time I was out there was 2007, and I was a single guy, just gave my life to Christ, and I said, I'm going to go not with a +1, I'm just going to go by myself, because I think at that time I was single, unmarried, single dad of 3 kids. And they said, you can take a guest, take a girlfriend. I'm like, it's okay, man, because if I take a girlfriend, you know, trying this Christian thing, and, you know, and for sure, man, I'm like, I know where the line's at, and I don't want anything to help me cross the line, so. Yeah. But, and that's when I learned about Facebook in 2007.
In 2007.
You know, I was starting to learn about social media. I wrote an article for Broker World. Now social media was starting to change my business. And it's almost close to 15 years ago. It's 15 years ago. And then obviously this time around with Sheena and the kids, and had a blast out there, man. We're thinking about going back out there. You got to come out next time around, man.
I will.
Bahamas, baby.
I will. Definitely will next time, man.
Didn't realize Bahamas was a very solid, staunch Christian nation.
Well, is it now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and so you know, there was a movie last week. We're going to get into it in a second, but there was a movie that was released on July 4th called Sound of Freedom.
Yeah,
and you know, it's probably the most impactful movie of our generation. And we, you know, like maybe when we get back to Dallas, we got to go check it out. We got to go check it out. Next thing you know, Patrick and Tigran, they text us and say, hey, we found a theater in the Bahamas, because there's only 2,600 theaters across America that's showing this movie. Highly controversial. It's about human and child trafficking. And Bahamas had it. You know, the only theater in Nassau that had the movie playing it. So a lot of cities and states in America don't have it, but Nassau definitely had it because they want to show it. They want to show it to their population. So let's get into it. So the Sound of Freedom. What's the deal with the controversial box office hit Sound of Freedom? So if you haven't seen this movie yet, Jordan, can we take a look at my screen? This movie here is oh, really? Okay. We got to go on vMix. Gotcha. Probably one of the things we need to do on a pre-op check. Okay, here we go. vMix, here we go. Let's see if we can connect. But this movie here was something that was released, actually done 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And are we good? Are we there yet? Let me know, Jordan. Not showing up? Showing here. Oops. Uh-oh. Well, I opened it up. I don't know what else to do. Anyway, when we're looking at where was it? Boom, 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 boom. Where was I? Okay, I can't show my screen. Okay. It's up on my end. Jordan. I don't know if you want to come over here and check out my laptop. I got a show to do. But anyway, this show, Sound of Freedom, it was done 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And Disney had ownership of it. And you know, you go on Netflix, you can go all these, like, they show Cuties, right? And everybody, there was an uproar about Cuties because parents were like, what the hell are you showing this? First of all, why are you doing a documentary on little young girls doing gymnastics and ballet and showing them kind of in a provocative way? It was Cuties. And so one side of it was like, hey, it's awesome. And the parents like, yo, this is kind of like inappropriate. Why are you showing this stuff on Netflix?
Yeah.
And Netflix like, yeah, it's all cool. It's cool. Hey, we just want it's our product. It's our platform. We'll do it. And then now with this movie, Sound of Freedom, they're like, we're not showing this. This is not something. It's not something we're going to do. And anyway, make a long story short, Jim Caviezel had to fight tooth and nail. Angel Studios had to fight tooth and nail to get this, up so people can actually see the movie, Sound of Freedom. And so the devil's a liar because I can't show my screen on it right now. It's trying to attack everything we can about spreading the gospel of this movie because our technology isn't working right now. But
Isn't it interesting?
It's interesting how it's happening right now. The enemy right now is in the midst of this.
There's been a lot of trending videos on TikTok and on an Instagram where people show up to movie theaters
to watch the movie.
The screen's completely blank. It's complete blank screen. People have gone online to purchase tickets, and they show that the showings are completely sold out. They still show up, and the movie theater is completely empty. So many people have been speaking about how movie theaters owners have been blocking out people the opportunity to even watch this movie, and I'm not surprised that this is actually happening right now.
Thank you, appreciate you, Jordan.
Not surprised at all that this is happening.
Air conditioners are out.
Yeah.
Fire alarms are being pulled.
Yes, the fire alarm one. That was like maybe about 2 days ago that happened.
Have you ever been to a movie theater where the general manager of the movie theater says, "Sorry guys, the movie isn't available. We can't show it," and then people are sitting there?
Nope.
Well, we've seen those TikToks.
And we're seeing it now
because we hadn't had a chance to download the movie. Download the movie? What are you talking about? It's a movie theater. So a lot of controversy is going behind this, and it just shows what type of demons exist to keep this message from being shown up. But anyway, the first 10 minutes of the movie, Milton, I couldn't breathe. First 10 minutes of the movie, I couldn't breathe. A model shows up. And think about this. In child trafficking, human trafficking, the recruiters aren't men. People think that there's some weird dude in a white van picking up and kidnapping kids,
women,
which is part of it. It's actually a woman.
They're women.
They're baiting them in. Why? They're less threatening.
Yeah.
Right? And the woman recruits the little girl and asks to talk to the dad. And, apparently I don't know where the mom was. And then next thing you know, the little boy comes in and the recruiter's like, "Oh man, two for one special." Next thing you know, she sells them on a story that you're going to be a model, or we're going to put you, got a photo shoot, you got to put you out in our album so people can see you. And I'm thinking about how many, we're from Chicago.
Yeah.
That happens all the time in Chicago and Oak Brook.
Yep.
But to older, they try to sell you, "Oh, you look like a model," and that's just how they recruit you to their agency. But now this is happening to kids. And so, when they're looking at the millions of people and children that are disappearing, they think that 2 to 4 million of those people that are disappearing are children. And so the sick part about human trafficking, why it's growing, and America being the number one consumer of this child pornography is crazy because they'll try to kidnap these kids as young as 4, 5, 6 years old. Right? So you'll see in the movie they got albums of these kids at 4, 5, 6 years old posing on a bed and being child raped. Mm-hmm. Sick. And one of the cops is like, "Listen, man, I've been to a lot of murder scenes. Right? You've been a cop. You've been to a lot of murder scenes. You've been to a lot of graphic, horrific things, right?" But the guy's like, "This is different. I can't shake this out of my head. I've seen murder scenes that people have seen their head get blown off, but to see children like this, the innocence being raped and taken from them and being treated like a piece of garbage, I can't get out of my head." And the guy's like, "Listen, I'd rather go back and do murder scenes because I can't deal with this stuff." And my sister and my brother-in-law do this type of work. That's one of the nonprofits we support. And so they tell me some of the stuff they were doing, but I never was able to visually see what they were doing until I saw this movie. And so now you got nieces and you got nephews.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're still in a generation. You're not so far gone. You're a millennial, but you still remember the generation. You still go out. You still go out and go play. Go to whatever case may be. Right?
It's rough now, man. It's rough, and right now it's becoming. It's always been. I think now that we have more platforms to show more and have more exposure, now we're able to see it a lot more because this was alive in the 80s. This was alive in the 70s. It's been alive for a while, but one of the biggest, and the only reason why I'm heavy on this, my family isn't involved in any illegal things in Mexico or in Ecuador or cartel activity, but I have people who are close to my family who are involved, and I came across this article that speaks about that in 2018, cartels made roughly $500 million a year smuggling migrants into the United States. And
it's $500 million.
Yeah. So today, this source of income, because this was published in February of this year, today this source of income has ballooned into a $13 million industry.
Yeah.
From smuggling people into the country so they can do unpaid labor, sex slaves for people in power.
Yeah.
And for some reason, every single time, it's always younger people. When I went to Egypt, I'm not sure if I told you the story. When I went to Egypt, I hired a tour guide because I didn't want to get kidnapped.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? Held for ransom. or whatever the case may be, right? Smuggled into a pyramid or something.
I would give him $20 to get you back.
Thanks, bro.
No problem.
I appreciate that.
I would have contributed to the GoFundMe.
Yeah. So we're driving around. This guy is RAV4, and there's a lot of poverty in Egypt. And you see a lot of guys standing in a corner. I'm like, hey, what about those guys? What about those guys? I was just curious about the demographics. Like, those people sell drugs. Those people sell drugs, and those people, they are smuggling people. They kidnap young people, and then they ship them. Mm-hmm. And then I would see older men walking around with little girls holding them by their hands. I'm like, oh, good. Parents are walking their kids to school. And they would ask me, where do you see the parent? I'm like, that guy right there, that guy right there, that guy right there. Like, and they would turn around and look at me like, no, that's their future spouse.
Damn.
I'm like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, that man probably paid the family an X amount of money, or they made an agreement with the family that's going to be his future wife, but he's going to hold off until she has her menstrual cycle. No, not of age, menstrual cycle.
Menstrual.
So I'm like,
it could be 11, 12.
Well, let me ask you. So let me ask you a question. How, on average, what's the age that these little girls usually get pawned off to another man? They're like, the youngest they go is 11, and they don't touch them until they have their menstrual cycle. Once they have their menstrual cycle, there's a free for all to do whatever they want with them.
Sick shit, bro.
So they mold them. They literally mold them to how they want them to be, and mold them to the wives they want to be. So you literally have grown men in their 30s, 40s, even 50s, walking around 11, 12-year-olds that once they get their menstrual cycle, now they're officially women, technically, and now you can be my wife. And now we have a ceremony, and it's beautiful based on our culture and our traditions.
It's gross, man. Human trafficking, Jordan, if we can take a look at my screen. Human trafficking is a $150 billion a year industry that is taking kids. And what happens is, bro, it's like, we're there, we're talking about Pablo Escobar. Well, you can sell a dime bag, you make money, but you always got to get product, right, to sell a dime bag. With kids, you can sell a kid 5, 6, 7 times a day, every week, every month, for the next 10 years. That's the crazy part about it. And then, on top of that, you see them at 15, 16 years old, where the pedos, they don't see them as attractive anymore. They're too old, 15, 16 years old. So what they do, sadly, bro, is that they now use them for organ harvesting. That's some disgusting stuff. So when we took Jojo to go see this, he's 12. I took the twins to go see it when we went to Chicago. And after our workshop we did on Tuesday, which, by the way, phenomenal job, Oak Brook. We had a little over 400 people there, but we took a bunch of people to the theater the next day. Okay, we packed the theaters the next day, 11:30 a.m. So people took off work, people took off time, they brought their families, brought their kids.
Look at that.
And we went to go see the movie because we want to make sure people know that we're doing our part to at least at the very minimum create awareness. I know a lot of work still needs to be done, but at the very least we need to create awareness.
Of course. That
this is a problem.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the horrific thing about this is you look at this movie, Sound of Freedom. Okay, this guy is the hero. The true story is around this guy. Okay, Ballard. Okay. He's the law enforcement agent who could not go back to his job until he rescued kids. And on top of that, what's happening here is the media, oddly, is actually pushing back against this movie. Listen, this is not a political issue. Protecting our children is not a Democrat, Republican type of issue. It's not I believe that regardless of what religion you are, regardless of ethnic background, your heritage, socioeconomic upbringing, if you have kids, I kind of say that you care about them.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing to have kids, that you care about your kids, the protection of the kids, provision of the kids. And so if we take a look at this Twitter video of what this Rothschild author is saying about this movie. Let's take a look at this clip.
And you seem pretty familiar with him because he doesn't really hide his association with this real wild plot that involves, drinking the blood of children and things like that.
No, he doesn't hide it at all. And you have a lot of people who are in this world of QAnon who say, oh, they don't know what that is. They've never heard of it. They're just asking questions. With somebody like Jim Caviezel, he is openly embracing it. He's openly using its catchphrases and its concepts. He's speaking at QAnon conventions. And this film is being marketed to either specific QAnon believers or to people who believe all of the same tenets as QAnon, but claim they don't know what it is.
And The Sound of Freedom does focus on a real issue
well,
of
let's
sex trafficking.
pause real quick.
But that theme.
So so he goes, QAnon. What is QAnon? So let's take a look at my screen. QAnon is a wide-ranging completely unfounded theory that says that President Trump is waging a secret war against Satan, against elite Satan-worshipping pedophiles in government, business, and the media. QAnon believers have speculated this fight will lead to a day of reckoning where prominent people such as former president candidate Hillary Clinton will be arrested and executed. Okay, so this is this thing. It's going out there. Secret society, unfounded theory. Okay, let's get back to this broadcast.
Know what it is.
And The Sound of Freedom does focus on a real issue of sex trafficking. But that theme, it's sort of like that kernel of truth that feeds the QAnon conspiracy theory. Tell us how those two things work together.
Sure. And the most durable and the most believable conspiracy theories are not entirely false. There's something in them that is true and the rest of it is false. But the believers point to the one true thing and they say, oh, you don't believe that this particular thing is true. In terms of child trafficking, we know trafficking is real. We know it has real victims. No one is denying that. But these films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites, and only people like Tim Ballard and only people like Jim Caviezel, and by extension, only people like the ticket buyer can help bring these trafficking rings down. So there's a very participatory element. You're not just going to see a movie, you're just killing 2 hours on a hot day. You are helping bring down these pedophile rings and save children. Now, it's not true, but it's a very comforting and it's a very warm feeling to have.
Warm freaking feeling. You've got to be freaking shitting me. This guy, Rothschild, you look like a damn pedo. Sorry, bud. But how the hell is this guy even defending the elites that are behind this thing? Because here's the thing, man. There is got to be some force, some evil force behind this thing, because how does cuties get out there? How does this terminology of no longer calling them pedophiles, but calling them minor attracted persons, how does this language get out there that it's normal?
Yeah.
Right? And if you have children, somebody kidnaps your kids. If you look at this movie, I mean, I couldn't imagine the father in this movie. This is horrific what this father's going through. How would you feel? Yeah, like zero power. And then the people that are asking you to fix it, they're behind this whole shit.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What's your reaction to this knucklehead?
It's all money moving, man. It's all money. Yeah, and at this point, I don't even want to say that it's politics. It's all money in this position, and we were talking about it earlier when we first started the show, and we started getting all these glitches. I don't find it to be a coincidence that the mainstream medias and the people who have the biggest investments, their money in certain media outlets and certain platforms, that those are the platforms are completely being disrupted when it comes down to exposing these type of truths of a reality. And the thing is, they're trying to negate the severity of it, when in reality there's a lot of people that we know that your sister and your brother-in-law are involved, and some of us who are watching this, and some people who are going to be watching this in the long run and come across this video, that we know people within families or extended families that have been involved in this, and it's a real thing. And it's close to home, and it's hard to be able to see these type of videos and clips that involve these situations, because at the end of the day, man, even if it's not a political thing, even if you're not really heavy on this and you don't really believe what you speak on, it's really hard to see a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old have to go through the type of experience and then live out a life of trauma the rest of your life and have those images in your head for the rest of your life.
You destroy that kid's innocence
forever, or even that just moment of trauma, in the moment of them experiencing that, they lose their lives. I don't think any child, there's no child in this world that was asked to be brought into this world. And I think our duty as adults, or at least for the parents or people who brought these kids into the world, I think it's their duty to make sure that these kids live a good life and experience a good life. It's not the children's fault that they're alive. It was, it's the man and woman that decided to lay. And it's unfortunate, because a lot of these people, and the people who end up getting targeted are the ones who are struggling the most financially. The low-income families, the ones who have no resources, the ones who are in need of help. And then here comes someone with money. I can help you. I'll take your daughter off your hands. I'll take your son off your hands. Or I'll provide XYZ. I just need XYZ favors from them.
Well, just as you mentioned, in other countries, it's legal, because that family that may produce a daughter or a young boy, they'll sell them to acquire money or whatever to somebody that's got more money.
In Egypt, these children still get traded for cattle. and for livestock in Egypt.
In some countries, if you don't pay your debt, they confiscate your kids.
Yeah.
They don't repo your stuff. So my sister, she's part of the International Justice Mission, the largest human anti-trafficking nonprofit in the country, based in D.C., right there next to the Pentagon. But we do a lot of fundraisings for that. So, I'm seeing this more and more as a not only after we create awareness, but we really need to create some financial resources, because here's the problem. The police forces are underfunded as it begins with. And then on top, they don't have the resources because, for example, Rudy Ortiz, right?
Yes.
His wife's got a master's degree. She worked for social services. So what she would do is she goes, I remember a case of this where we rescued a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, and come to find out, and we put him with her grandmother, right? Come to find out, guess who was in it also? Grandmother.
Yeah, no shit.
And she'd say, yeah, these weird men would come in my room late at night because they're bad neighborhood, and the way they can make money instead of selling drugs, because you got to know somebody to sell drugs.
Yeah.
If I can pimp my grandkids out. And so, so they rescued, put her with a good family. 11 years old, this girl gets pregnant, has a kid. And, so she's in the system. So Rosie's staying on top of this stuff. And I'm looking at Rosie, I'm like, how did you deal with this stuff as a social worker? Mm-hmm. And the type of things the scenarios that you'd be going into? But this stuff is happening. And the sad part of it, even if you rescue the kid out of it for the time being,
yeah,
and you put him back with a family, they might be in it too. Yeah. So it's like it's a frustrating thing for the cops to do. And so, parents, listen, man, we got to do our part. You got to do your part to make sure you're there not only to provide, but also to protect. And therefore, for those of you that's thinking about just casually having sex and you have a kid, this is the reason why we talk about this type of stuff. Is because, as Milton mentioned earlier, if you end up sleeping with a girl or guy that you regret, and they're not the type of mother, not the type of father you hope them because they're a bum girlfriend, they're a bum boyfriend, and they aren't going to change because they're with you, you should be careful who you're having sex with. Then you get pregnant and you bring a kid into this world, you add to the problem. You're a burden on the government, you're a burden on society, because now you need help from other people because you're not sustaining yourself. And then what's worst case scenario, the temptation of this stuff to put your kid to the unraveling. I see where this road goes. So my recommendation is go see this movie. Not only go see this movie, take people with you. And I think right now, as of last week, it was the #1 movie in America. Yeah. They don't have any big studio money to promote it. I mean, other movies like Mission Impossible and other things, they'll have months of promoting a movie. They didn't have a lot of money promoting this. It's all by word of mouth. Which says that if it's the #1 movie in America today, guess what? People aren't caring if it's Republican or Democrat. People aren't caring if it's this QAnon and all this garbage that they see. All they care about is you're messing with our kids. When you go out there, when you support it, create a message like this. So therefore, some policymaker finally creates something that, and I heard that California just came out with a law. I just got a text yesterday. California, the Department of Justice, came out with a law that Biden's DOJ, Department of Justice, has removed child sex trafficking from its lists of areas of concern. Okay? This was yesterday. The Biden's DOJ has removed child sex trafficking from its list of areas of concern. Well, of all the kids that come across the border too as well, it's also been said that 300,000 kids have been illegally crossing the border to do this, no border. Yeah. They've lost track of 85,000 kids. Lost track of 85,000 kids. You kind of know where it's going. Yeah. And so, what are your thoughts on this? You're watching this podcast, you listen to this podcast, what are your thoughts? Please put in the comment section below. Love to know what your thoughts are on this specific topic. So, let me move on to this next topic. There's this lady that is frustrated because she's a mother and she's been paying rent her whole entire life. And even though this is based out in Australia, I think it still also has an American presence because she's been a terminal renter her entire life. So, Jordan, if we can take a look at this. She's basically counted out how much money she's paid in rent, okay? She's paid $500,000 in rent, okay? She paid $500,000 in rent and owns her own business, but now she's also homeless. Renting in Australia has broken her after her and 2 children became homeless after booted from the rental home after her landlord sought to increase the rent. The 43-year-old said she has no idea where to go and is looking at safe places to park and sleep in her car. But in her search, a kind couple offered Emma their old caravan to sleep in while she gets back on her feet. So here's a single mom, 2 kids. She can't afford to pay rent because rent has gone up so high. Properties are bringing around at $250 waste $1,000 a month. Yes, she owns her deal. So there's a crazy decision that people in the world, let alone America, have to make. Okay, you can take a, Jordan, and this is either this is the reason why the Millionaire Goals podcast exists. You think that making more money is optional? It's not. If you want to protect your children, think about this real quick. Just talk about dovetailing for the last topic. If you want to protect your children, you got to make more money to put them in the right school system, put them right in the neighborhood, and that costs money. So, Milton, you're law enforcement. I mean, what is it like with kids? What's that thing when you're out late at night? Curfew.
Curfew, yes.
When's the last time curfew was enforced?
No.
When's the last time kids skipping school and a cop finds them in the street? When's that enforced?
Now it's just a warning, slap on the wrist, put them in a squad car, take them back to school, let the school deal with it. A lot of cops don't want to deal with it anymore. There's not enough funds. I don't get paid enough for this. A lot of them would say I don't get paid enough for this. There's no need for me to get involved in this. It's the school's problem, parents' problem, not my problem. Out of my jurisdiction. Because a lot of these kids that would go to the schools that, would be in the areas that I knew some of my buddies were working and myself, there were city kids. A lot of city kids would use fake address, other people's addresses just to come to school here in the suburbs, so that way they can get away from the trouble.
So that's the jack move. So break that down. People here in Texas may not understand other parts of the country. So if you live in the inner city in Chicago.
So for example, let's say this. For people here in Dallas, here in Texas, you live in Oak Cliff, right? South Dallas, where it's not so great, not so hot. Around Harry Hines. And there's a lot of drugs, a lot of murder, a lot of things going on, and that you don't want your kid involved in. What a lot of parents would do, they would have a family member or a friend who lives in East Plano, Allen, McKinney, Frisco, and say, hey, can I use your address so I can put my kid into the high school here in Frisco?
Yep.
Some people would say yes, some people would say no. People who said yes either do it out of kindness of their heart or sure, but this is how much I'm going to be charging you every month so you can have your kid in that school and still use my address. So a lot of people will pay rent to the people who live in Frisco, McKinney, Allen, and then their kids will commute all the way from Oak Cliff or South Dallas all the way to Frisco just so their kids can get a different education. But the thing is, their tendencies, their roots, everything they've been exposed to, they bring that with them. So now all the quote-unquote poison, and I call it poison because it spreads so fast, all the quote-unquote poison that they picked up from, where they were raised in, the streets they were raised on, now that's starting to spread amongst the kids within that school.
Yep. And
now that's where a lot of systems are infiltrated, and that's why you see a lot of backlash with a lot of these suburban schools and a lot of these private schools are also going through the struggle of not knowing where all this is coming from. It may not happen here, I'm not sure, but I know in Chicago that's one of the biggest things. A lot of the students from a lot of these suburban schools are actually city kids, and I know for a couple of years in the early 2000s they were cracking down on that really hard, but then schools got defunded, police got defunded, and there was not a lot of money going to these after-school programs that got the kids off the streets. So now they just is a teacher's problem.
Which, by the way, in Chicago, if you use the Metro to go from downtown Chicago, right, from Union Station to the suburbs, it's 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
So if I'm a kid and I'm scheming, I take the train during the day, right? Yeah. If I'm dealing, I go out to the burbs, supply my distros out there, right? My little suburban corner boys out there, and then I go back to the city.
Yeah.
Right? And that's on the train, 30 minutes. Very easy commute. You don't even have to drive. And chances are the railroad police don't even pick you up because they see you as a school kid with a backpack.
Right.
Or a duffel bag.
Boom.
Right?
Exactly.
You pay your ticket, And so a lot of things are admittedly so. And, I like to encourage people that if you think that you have to go out there and hopefully somebody's going to fix your problem, it's not going to happen. If you wait around, it's not going to happen. You try to sweep it under the rug mentally, emotionally, you try to sweep this under the rug, it's not going to happen. And so with that being said, we got this gentleman here who's on Zoom all the way from Puerto Rico. And the significance of him, he used to play baseball out here for the Texas Rangers. Actually pitched with Nolan Ryan.
Oh, okay.
And so a talented guy, articulate guy,
Okay.
Man of faith, man of God. I remember with one of the conferences, he pulled me to the side and he just talks about his faith. Before I knew he was a baseball player, he was talking to me about his position in faith. And just seeing him doing what he's done and moving his career into financial services. There's something he put out there on social media, talk about index annuities have changed my life. I've been a client of index annuities for 34 years. And why is index annuities important? We're going to get into this topic here in a second about Gen X and not being able to plan for retirement or behind on the retirement. But this gentleman here, I'm very excited to have on the show from Puerto Rico, from Zoom. Do we have Edwin Correa on the line? Are you? Oh, you're muted on your end, brother. You're
I'm here right now.
Excellent.
Sorry. How are you, man?
Can I do what?
All right. We're doing great down here in Puerto Rico. Great weather. So we're enjoying the time down here in Puerto Rico. You got to come soon down here.
I for sure will, man. And by the way, he tells me, man, come out here. He's trying to entice me. You can take my Maserati. We have a good time out here. So, Edwin, talk to us about what ended your career here playing for the Texas Rangers.
I think you're mute now.
Oh, tell me about what ended your career here with the Texas Rangers.
Well, I basically I was playing. I came through the minor leagues. I first came up through the White Sox organization.
Come on, baby.
Chi-town.
And made it to the big leagues. Played with Tom Seaver, Lamar Hoyt, Carton Fisk, and joined the Rangers in 1980. It was a trade at 1985, at the end of 1985, and came over to the Rangers. And basically, I had an arm injury, and
Because you're a pitcher.
it took away my career, But it was fun because at the time I was 19 years old. I came up to the big leagues and still have the record for the youngest pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball to throw a shutout against Pat David team, the New York Yankees in New York.
That's bad. That's awesome. So you had an arm injury, and that took you out the game. And from a financial standpoint, because we know athletes, they get injuries. For example, NFL, they don't have any guaranteed contracts. What's the difference in contracts between the NFL and the Major League Baseball leagues?
Well, basically at that time when I had my contract, remember, before you become a free agent, you're subject to just take the money that they give you, the rules are the rules. So I injured myself during that time. And after that, it was a time when I finally, I didn't know anything about the annuities, anything. And what happened to me was that it was a malpractice on my arm. So we basically went, settled out of court. And my agent said to me, listen, Edwin, I'm going to put this money aside for an index annuity. You don't know what that means, but one day you're going to thank me.
That's crazy. Bro, what year was this?
That was 1989.
Wow.
And I start getting payments right away. And my money has been gone a long time ago. It's 2023. I still getting the same amount of money monthly until the day I die.
Wow. That's the benefit of annuity. Basically, it's a form of a pension, which is now solidified by an insurance company. So when you saw this annuity, or when you came into Major League Baseball, what would you say your level of financial education and financial literacy was?
Oh, nothing. Oh, nothing at all. Nothing at all. I was guided by my agent, and I didn't know anything about it, and good thing now I'm into financial services, and I understand a lot more, because at that time I didn't. And many athletes go through the same period of mental lapse that they don't know. They just are guided by an agent that if the agent doesn't know any better, they're going to be at the same situation once they finish up their careers.
Edwin, when you're talking to people there in Puerto Rico, you're educating people about finances. What's the biggest objections or what's the biggest areas that people say, oh my gosh, Edwin, I never knew this could happen in my life? Because as you're teaching and you're educating them on the concepts that we coach people on, what's the biggest objections or biggest areas of lack of understanding that you're seeing out there?
Well, you know what? One thing I find out, Matt, that many of the people down here in Puerto Rico doesn't have any education towards that. And there's a lot of people with a lot of money here also, you know. And the thing is that wasn't in March, it was a law in Puerto Rico through the government that says that only 1% of the public and private sector knows about basically financial literacy.
Jeez.
So this is an open market for me just to go out, and you know, I see it as an opportunity, you know, and that came as a law. So I'm hitting the market.
Milton, you got any? Milton is here, my co-host. He's from Chicago also. He's my trainer. He's the guy that gets me in the gym and gets me pushing my limits. So any questions for Edwin on your end?
When dealing with athletes, you know, what are maybe a couple things that, you know, being in your position, your experience, you know, being in the major leagues and now being in a position where you're more aware of your finances, is there like, you know, maybe like a 2-3 step thing that a lot of athletes who are in the league or who are about to get out the league that they can do to ensure their financial future?
Well, basically, gotta be people like us, Matt. We gotta hit that market.
Yes, right.
I mean, they have no idea. I think the first thing is just to step into NFL, the NBA, the MLB, and all the sports, and just try to get there and let them know about they need to control their finances. It's one thing that they thinking at the time they thinking about the moment, not the future. You know, and many of them can make a lot of money, yes, and they can take care of themselves. But think about their kids, think about their grandsons, think about their grandsons. You know, and this is something that is even if you make a lot of money, there's a lot of ground to cover in order for you just to leave a legacy down the road.
What's the biggest misunderstanding and misconception people have about life insurance and annuities?
In about life insurance, I think that they still living back in the ages that if you die, that's basically all you're going to get. Your beneficiaries are going to get the money. And that's one thing that I have found out here. Second, on the annuities, basically, there's a lot more to talk about the life insurance, but on the annuities, I mean, you could be set for life if you work it the way you're supposed to do in order to get not only now but on the future and be set. You know, I wrote the thing that you just put, and I had one of the newspapers call me, and it asked me if this is the one that it was basically the same deal that Bobby Bonilla got. You know, Bobby Bonilla is still getting money.
Sure.
You know, and the thing is, I says kind of. You know, it's another way to use an annuity and think about not only now but in the future. And he's getting his money worth. I mean, even when he's not playing a long time ago.
So this is very important for people to understand because 1989, Edwin Correa, his dream was cut short. His agent, it was your agent, right? Your agent takes that settlement and puts it into the annuity, which kicks out an income every month. Is it every month? Do you have a monthly payout or an annual payout?
This is a monthly payout.
He gets a monthly. He's been getting a monthly check. How many years were you in total in MLB?
In MLB, around 5 years.
So 5 years. He's in 5 years. He's in MLB. But for the last 34 years, because he had the right agent go do right by him, and Edwin decided to get educated, he's got a check from the MLB still for the last 34 years to the rest of his life because it doesn't stop.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Mr. Edwin, what is it that inspired you, motivated you, triggered you, or pushed you to say, you know what, I need to get educated and I need to make sure my finances are in order, not only for myself, but for my family and for everybody else? What pushed you to even get to this point?
Basically, if you don't do it as a person, nobody else will. I mean, this is something that once you get through the mind of the person and let them know, this is something that you need to take care. You need to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, I mean, there's so many agents. I mean, I was blessed to have an agent that basically showed me the way with an index annuity. But many of them are putting the money. Oh, let me tell you this. There's one guy here in Puerto Rico. His name is Felix Tito Trinidad, the boxer, the champion. He put his money through an agent where he puts his money on a variable index annuity. A variable annuity, I'm sorry.
VA, right.
He lost $19 million.
Oh, my gosh.
He lost everything he had, $19 million. So that's another experience that I'm using. I have a Ruben Sierra. Ruben Sierra played for the Yankees, played for many teams. He made $44 million on his career. This is how much he got.
Wow.
Because no one got to him in time to let him know, listen, Ruben, you have to take care of the future. You just can't be thinking about only the time you're living right now. And basically, if I have to tell you this, many athletes just go through life just not even thinking about your future and just thinking about the time.
Edwin, we got to get you on a longer form interview, maybe perhaps when we do it in person. But I appreciate you jumping on this podcast and creating awareness about this issue. I saw your post this morning. I asked you very quickly last minute if you could jump on, and I appreciate you being so quickly available.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Hey, I'm reading every day. So.
Oh man, look, he's got the faith in
Look at
him.
that,
I
baby.
appreciate you, big dog. I'll see you in 3 weeks at the MGM Grand Arena, brother.
See you in a couple of weeks. Take care.
All right, I got it. It's Edwin Correa, man. Make sure you guys follow him.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, brother.
That's awesome.
Crazy times that he's experienced there with having the right person in his corner. He's had to check every year because of index annuity. So two things: the right person in your corner and the right financial practice. All annuities aren't created equal. Trinidad, the boxer, lost his money in a variable annuity. What Edwin's talking about is a fixed and or indexed annuity, something that's guaranteed principal and guaranteed never to lose your previous year's gains, which is something that my mother's in the same thing. My mother hasn't lost any money since 2001 in an index annuity. That's why my mother is retired today. So you got some thoughts here about let's talk about some health and fitness.
Sure. All right.
Speaking of athletes.
Yeah, let's jump into it, man.
Good.
I'm going to have you pull up the link, Mr. Jordan. The fewer teens now perceive themselves as overweight.
Fewer teenagers see themselves as not as overweight?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a link that I sent you in the email. Yeah.
Or an article?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was a video. Okay.
No, it's
Okay.
combination.
Okay.
So
I'll pull this up. I'll look for it.
All right, so
talk through it. Yeah.
So, a lot of people have been seeing on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, on a lot of social media platforms, there is this trend of accepting the body as is, which is understandable, but it's gotten to the point where a lot of people aren't fully embracing the idea and the notion
745,000 teenagers. Holy moly.
So let's jump into this article. A study involving more than 745,000 adolescents from 41 countries across Europe and North America identified an increase in the amount of teenagers who underestimate their body weight. And this has actually happened across the board with a lot of my clients and their children, where I have a sit-down conversation with them one-on-one. I'm like, hey, man, or hey, young lady, hey, young man, are you aware that this is your situation and these are the potential risks because you're in this situation at your age? Mm-hmm. And the same response is, well, I don't feel like I'm overweight. I feel like I'm totally fine. And now a lot of the Gen Z generation are giving pushback, and they're bringing forth the idea that if you try to judge someone based off of the weight or the way their body composition is, you're fat phobic.
And body shaming.
You're body shaming them. And here's the thing. Physiological changes that happen in the human body as you get older, that's going to happen. Me, myself, from the ages of 7 years old, all the way up to the age of 60 years old, I was an overweight kid. Everything, double chin, man boobs. I would sweat when I would eat. It was one of those things. And you're gonna have to face the reality of one or two things. You're gonna have to face the reality of either A, I'm overweight and it's going to hurt trying to fix it because I need to address it and it's a really crappy feeling that you're overweight. Or B, you're gonna have to deal with the fact that you're overweight. You're going to ignore it, but you're going to go through a lot of body shaming and subliminal messaging from your peers and consistent bullying unless you address it. Mm-hmm. I remember one time I was, I think I was 10 or 11 years old. And I went out to a local restaurant with my father. And again, I was obese for my age. I was obese. I ate like a grown-ass man. And I remember we went to this restaurant, a breakfast place. My dad had 2 eggs, steak and eggs for him, plain toast, coffee. Server comes over to me. She's like, what would you have? Again, and I put it out there, and it's embarrassing, but at the same time, hopefully it can bring some form of awareness. I remember I ordered 2 bacon strips, 2 sausage links, eggs, pancakes. I still had my toast, and also I ordered hash browns. And the lady was jotting everything down, and she just looked at me and looked at my father, and she's like, "Are you okay with him ordering this?" And my dad's like, "Well, that's what he wants, and that's what he's going to eat." Because my dad tried stepping up to the plate months ago, prior to that day, and tried to discipline me and talk to me and say, "Hey, son, this is where you're at, and this is what you should be doing, and this is where I need you to be." My mom, being an overly protective mother,
sure.
Don't talk to my baby that way. Mm-hmm. My baby's perfect. My baby's perfectly
mm-hmm.
fine. So my dad trying to discipline me to become the man who I needed to become would always get shut down by my mother. And that's why it always starts at home. Don't blame your kids. Blame yourselves. It starts with you. So now fast forward to the day of the restaurant, my dad just gave up. He's like, all right, if he wants to eat that, then I guess he's going to eat that today. And the server was like, sir, that's a lot of food for a young kid. He's like, well, if he's going to finish it, he's going to finish it. And damn right I finished that food.
Oh, shit.
It was freaking delicious. But my struggle was body shaming. I always get bullied. Girls that I liked wouldn't like me back. Girls that dated me at age 12, 13, 14 years old, only dated me out of dares and bets. They wouldn't actually take me serious. And on a mental and emotional level for a teenager, it hurts. It sucks. And the thing is, parents and children or young adults or teenagers or preteens or anyone who's going to be watching this in the long run, it comes from multiple things. It comes from lack of awareness. It's an emotional coping mechanism. So if you grow up in a household where your parents are consistently fighting and you don't have many friends, you're antisocial, you're an quote-unquote introvert, you're going to run for food as a comfort. A lot of people run to alcohol, sugar, food, whatever the case may be. For a lot of you guys, for me at least, it was food. Lack of support or resources. That's another thing. We had no idea what healthy eating was. We had lack of resources. I didn't grow up in a household where we can afford luxurious foods. We ate what we could.
From Aldi's,
ramen, whatever we could eat, that's what we ate.
Yeah.
So a lot of these foods aren't giving our bodies the nutrients that we need or the nutrients that we desire. So what ends up happening is we eat a meal and we don't have the micronutrients that we need, and we're hungry again. Yeah. So we keep eating, and calories keep stacking, and now you start gaining weight.
You know what gets me, man? When people are like on Instagram and social media and TikTok, right? They show they're in shape, they got abs or working out.
Yeah.
And I see it. I'm like, dude, impressive, good job, man.
Yeah.
That inspires me.
Yeah.
But then I look at some of these comments. You ain't doing the reps right. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They're just dogging them out. Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking, and then I go to. I'm just curious. I just click on their profile. You're nobody to talk about somebody's workout, and you're sitting there looking stinking overweight and
Boom.
obviously not in shape.
So that's the following one, which is the body positivity movement, where a lot of late millennials and early Gen Zs are doing. The body positivity movement, which I'm giving a lot of pushback on. If you have a child or you yourself are morbidly obese You sweat when you eat. You can't walk. You can't work out. There's certain things, certain moves you can't do. You're consistently tired, sitting on the couch. You're playing video games all day. Your child's playing video games all day. Don't cater to that. Don't baby that. You don't understand the risk that they're actually running. Besides psychological issues and from bullying and from them not being able to feel like they're the par for social experiences they have in high school, middle school, or even college, you're running the risk of diabetes. You're running the risk of heart disease. You're running the risk of clogged arteries. You're running the risk of so many things, including affecting your actual human brain. There's so many things that get affected when you just have a crappy-ass diet. So for those of you who don't know how to attack this, and the thing is, this actually started taking off a lot more during COVID.
Yeah,
Kids were at school. People were homeschooled. They didn't have much to do. Parents were also at home. They were working remote. They were locked down. So the only way to shut their kids up.
Don't go to the park. Can't go to the parks. Can't socialize.
Yeah, because everything's locked down, right? Yeah. So what ends up happening, they get an iPad, they get TV, and they keep eating. And it starts stacking. So for the people who don't know where to start, for the people who are confused on where do I begin with my kids, or even if you're a teenager, preteen, where do I begin with myself? 3 things. Basic, simple, straight to the point. Engage in regular physical activity. Try to at least get 100 to 150 minutes of exercise a week, whether it's walking, bike riding, skateboarding, whether it's hiking. Join a fitness class if you're an adult and you have access to gym equipment. Go dancing. Do something that's going to involve moving your body and pumping your heart. Number 2, make healthier choices. Literally, we live in a generation where we can literally Google things. We can chat GTP things. You can YouTube things. Top 5 foods that are healthy for me. Top 5 foods that are going to help me lose weight. You literally have zero excuse on why you can't get healthy, why you can't help your family get healthy. YouTube University is a real thing. And the third one is practice mindful eating. One of the downsides for me and for a lot of these people who had 9 to 5 jobs and we only had 10, 15-minute breaks, we had a full, nice, fat lunch, and we had to scarf it down in 10 minutes. It takes your brain anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes for it to send signals for your brain and your stomach to send signals to each other saying, hey, I'm full. Stop eating. So when you're stressed out, when you're overwhelmed, and you're emotionally eating, you scarf down the food that's not allowing your body to process. Like, hey, yo, stop, I'm full. That's why a lot of you guys get IBS. That's why a lot of you guys get indigestion. That's why a lot of you guys feel extremely bloated and lethargic after you eat because you're not taking your time. You're not being mindful of what you're consuming. Get physically active, make healthier choices, and practice mindful eating. And there's a quick 20-second video, if you can pull it up, Jordan, the fat phobic one. You let me know what you think, man, of this. I thought it was funny.
Of boys in their little muscle shirts.
Men are not meant to be dominant. Men are meant to be submissive.
Shut up. Not even
Life's
crazy.
too short to exercise. I'm just gonna be honest. There are so many better
sick of this
things to
video.
do than exercise.
This is what you're trying to promote?
Yep.
When you
Lower
do that
standards.
and there's like muscles there, nobody cares about that.
It hurts me to see how corrupted you are.
What the? Yeah, I'm screaming.
And can cry. So it's okay.
Look, these are men. These are men, right?
It is okay to be fat.
If you work
It's
out
not.
strictly for appearance-based reasons, you are fat phobic.
Stop it.
5 seconds. 6 seconds.
Oh,
4.
what?
3. 2. 1.
Embrace masculinity. Yeah.
What are your thoughts as someone who was once in a position where, you're broken down, but now you're fit, but now you're also in a position that is not only about yourself, but now you also have kids.
But for me, the opposite was true. I wasn't overweight.
Yeah.
I was too skinny.
Yeah.
So and I didn't feel good about myself. You can't tell me those folks who really actually feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
They're mocking they're mocking everybody else because they want to sell you on low standards. I don't know, man. There's a difference between right and wrong, and this is wrong. Being too skinny is also wrong because I was what they call skinny fat. When you and I first met, I wonder if I could show you a picture of what I used to look like, because when I was going through stress, I did eat, but food had a different effect on my body. So you may not just be overweight; you could be underweight, and you're going through some stuff. So this is Milton's favorite picture of me. All right, there it is.
Look at that sexy thing right there, boy.
That's it, man. Stud, United States Marine, Special Operations Unit, right? I was stressed, PTSD, the whole thing, man.
Look at that trigger finger on the right side.
Yeah, I can't even close my finger. Yep. Until I started taking care of my body.
Yeah.
Right? And I was going nowhere fast in that scenario. So it's both ways, man. You have to watch your diet because it has to deal with how you deal with your temples. That's chapters 7 and 8 of my book, Faith Made Millionaire, is your body's a temple.
Yeah.
And if you want to live in your purpose, you want to live in service to others, service to a purpose greater than yourselves, you're going to need to be around for a while. And the children that look up to you, I push my kids. Every time I'm in town, I either try to get them into the gym, or we go out and we eat the right things and see the right things, both mentally and physically. But if you think that these type of standards are okay, I was surprised that gym wasn't every day at school. Today, gym's not every day at school.
Once a week now.
Yeah, it's not. So right now we got Jordan and JoJo constantly moving every day.
Yeah.
Because especially for a boy's got to move. And so, what was that first one the guy said in that video? Men are not supposed to be masculine. Men are supposed to be
dominant. Yeah,
Bro,
men aren't supposed to be dominant. Men are supposed to be submissive.
Listen, if you read the Bible, man is the head of the home. The man is the head of the wife. Man is the head of the household. For me and my house, we will serve the Lord, right? So that's a man's decision to yes, man is. If you want to fight a war, guess what you want? You want masculine men or submissive men?
Yeah.
You get into a fight, you want a masculine man or you want a submissive man? So, that's the problem, having so many years and years of good times. Good times create weak leaders. However, weak leaders create tough times. And tough times, what we're in right now, create strong leaders. So we're looking for the leaders to step up and out. We're looking for you. We're looking to build you. And if you're listening to this, we appreciate you. Male, female, man, woman, regardless of what gender you are, we want you to be a leader. Step up. Speaking of stepping up, next topic here. Let's take a look at the topic of Generation X retirement plan reality. Funny video here about this lady talking about the situation with Generation X and their current retirement plan, because they're the next generation up for retirement. So a lot of generations can take a look at the mistakes of this current generation, so therefore it doesn't apply to them. Let's take a look at this.
Millennials are going to work until they die, and Gen Z is going to have to work even longer.
Let me guess, that study didn't mention Gen X. But you can add us to the list, because we're going to work until we die too. We wish we were only working for 45 years, 9 to 5. We've been working since we were little kids. And the closer we get to retirement age, the farther it looks away. You can't save something you don't have, and a lot of Gen Xers don't have any money saved for retirement. We've been plagued with financial crisis after financial crisis. Housing crisis after housing crisis. Rising inflation, and let's throw some student loan debt in there. Gen X makes up 38% of all student loan debt in this country, and that's more than any other generation. They'll be paying on that shit long after they're dead. Couple all of that with the fact that a lot of Gen Xers are caring for their elderly parents as well as their grown children, and, well, I mean, just do the math. And the worst part is we're closer to retirement age, so we have a lot less time to save for it.
Shit.
By the time we actually get to retirement age, Social Security is going to be, bankrupt, so there's going to be nothing. So add us to the pile, because we'll be working till we're dead, too.
So, we're looking at the requirement. It's no longer a desire or a luxury to make more money. It is really right now a requirement for you to make more money. So, number one, if you're thinking about protecting your children, right schools, safe neighborhood, you got to make more money. Private school for your kids, safer neighborhood for your kids, number one. Number two, you got to catch up what you didn't save in previous years. The Gen X generation was the first generation to experience what 401ks were, because they started going away with pensions, and they started introducing 401k plans in the 80s. So 401k plans, by the time Generation X figured out what a 401k plan was, they were already 35. So the biggest asset that you have in saving for your retirement for the future is time. The sooner you have to start tucking away more money, having the right habit to save more money, like Edwin was saying earlier, the better. You don't have to save as much when you start earlier, but the more you wait, the more you got to save. We just released a video. Jordan, can we show this quick on my screen? We just released this video on my YouTube channel, 3 ways to make $1.5 million of passive income. And why $1.5 million of passive income? Because accounting for inflation, forget the Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
We might as well put a Toyota up there. Because $1.5 million in income, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, that's going to be the norm for you to live. If inflation continues to chip away at buying power, meaning that you got to spend more money at the grocery store, you got to spend more money in your house, you got to spend more in your cars and gas, et cetera, et cetera. So check out this video on the 7 Figure Squad YouTube channel here. We'll put the link here in the Millionaire Goals podcast description. And the other aspect of this too as well, number 3, is if you are taking care of your kids as a Gen X, teach your kids that they got to grow up and start paying their own damn bills. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. I know it's my son. I know it's my daughter. Listen, my 3 older kids, all on their own, on their 20s. And guess what they don't have? Because we talked about this when they were in junior high, in high school. They weren't going to be college graduates. They didn't want to go to college. And now all their friends are starting to come home now from college. Guess what they have? They're moving back in with mom and dad because mom and dad lets them. And guess what they also have to pay? Student loan debt. So when you're looking at the situation we're in today, you have these are 3 critical decisions and reasons for you to start making more money. And if you don't, let's say you don't, man, you're full of crap, I don't want to listen to this stuff. I know, because it's harder to self-reflect and it's harder to improve. People don't want to look at failure in the face. Well, the sooner you look at failure in the face, the sooner you look at what you have your leaks in, the sooner you can correct it, and so you can put time back in your favor, and so you can create some solutions in your life, because it's either you're going to be dependent upon your plan or you're going to depend upon the government plan, your choice. Milton, what's your thoughts on this? Because you had some thoughts on student loan debt too, right?
Yeah, so for a lot of people that were, a lot of students, a lot of you guys, I know a couple of my nieces and nephews who were going to college, like, yes, Biden's going to forgive the student loan debt. We don't have to pay student loans anymore. Well, I'm sorry, it's too bad. That completely got struck down, and now these payments are going to start, they're going to resume again, and they're actually going to start accruing again on September 1st, and payments will resume in October. And for a lot of you guys, you guys may say, well, what does it matter? Well, again, like Matt said, as price of all things go up, and you're still at your 9-to-5 job that probably is giving you a 15-20 cent raise, $1 raise in the past XYZ amount of time, it's going to impact you. So on some level, you're going to have to prepare to pay back these student loans. And now as you're aging as well, now you have a home, now you have a mortgage or rent, now you may have a kid or 2 kids, and you're still in school. It's going to be difficult to be able to pay off these loans. So there are 3 things that I could advise you on, and I'm going to have Matt touch on one of the biggest ones that he's been able to do for himself and his family and his career and his business, and he speaks about it even in his book, Faith Made Millionaire. 3 things that you can actually prepare for paying back your student loans. Number 1 is being able to cut costs, especially people my age or a little bit younger than me. There's no need for you to go out and eat every single day. You can cook at home, or you can look into a meal prep company, which nowadays tends to be a little bit cheaper than actually eating out or even cooking your own food. Now you're able to buy back your time, create more time so you can scale your business, grow your business, or spend more time with your family. Also, number 2, this goes to a lot of my guys. I actually made a post about this on social media, I think in last 2 days. Stop buying designer. Who are you buying designer for? The girls? Who are you trying to impress?
I still shop at Marshall's, man.
Yeah.
My wife we just came from the Bahamas. We've been cash flow millionaires for several years now. We still shop at TJ Maxx.
Yeah. There's no need for you to be when I first moved here, there was I don't think he's there anymore. I first moved here, I went shopping at a Tum Tum down the block from my apartment at the time, and there was a bagger, 16-year-old kid wearing a Louis Vuitton belt. Make sure he tucked in his shirt, he wore a Louis Vuitton belt. And I remember my roommate at the time, he was with me.
Stupid.
And this kid's like, I was buying a lot of water. He's like, is that water for you? And I didn't mean to sound like a dick, but he was like, is that water for you? Are you going to drink all that? I'm like, yeah, man, I drink all this. Wow, it's really crazy how you can drink all that water. I'm like, it's really crazy that you're wearing a Louis Vuitton belt working at Tum Tum. And he just looks at me, he's like, yeah, my grandma got me this belt.
You're bullshit.
Cool, sure,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But, and also, stop, another way to cut costs is stop living beyond your means. If you know you can't afford certain things, just because you have the money doesn't mean that you need to waste that money. Use that money to stack your money for emergency savings, investment savings, or to be able to put it in a different account where it can accumulate interest. Number 2 is being able to create a budget. And within creating a budget, you need 4 things. Determine your income, calculate your monthly expenses, set realistic goals, and also be mindful of tracking your spending. And the last one, which I'm going to pass it on to Matt completely, is increasing your income. Do you have some advice on anyone within any age on how they can increase their income?
Yeah, number 1, you got to be very valuable to, if you're working for a company right now, show that you provide value to your department. You show them how to increase revenue, how to cut costs, how you become an invaluable employee. Okay, well, Matt, you always talk about entrepreneurship. Yeah, if you suck as an employee, guess what you can be as an entrepreneur? You're going to suck too as an entrepreneur. Your habits are created at your job. Most people don't start off a business 17, 18, 19 years old. Most when you have a job, if you suck at your job or if you do well at your job, chances are those indications, those habits carry into entrepreneurship. Now, Milton and I, and many of the guests we have here on the Millionaire Goals podcast, Evan Correa here that we just had as a guest, all of us have chosen a path of entrepreneurship. Capitalism, the economic system of capitalism, is the greatest economic system that helps raise people from poverty. We don't have a college degree. Edwin Correa didn't have a college degree. Many people we have here on the show don't have a college degree. Why? Because we choose to be more valuable instead of having a degree. We find things that are problems in a marketplace. We create a solution for it, and therefore we create a product or a service that helps people's lives become better. And boom, that's your business. All you got to do is just improve it, improve your skill set, improve your marketing, and bam, there it is. Question 2 as well as number 3, last but not least, is who you're surrounding yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with $15 an hour baggers that wear Louis Vuitton belts? Makes you feel bad that you don't have one too as well? Or are you surrounding yourself with people that are sharing ideas and thoughts and how you can get financially ahead? Are they fostering and challenging you to think higher and better about yourself, that are helping feed into you an identity that you deserve better? Because you know you want it, But now you just need the systems and strategies, and that's what we do. That's what we do here at our office here and all across the country. Twice a week, Tuesdays and Saturdays, is just inject belief, inject systems, inject leadership, inject financial literacy and financial education, so therefore people can rise up. Because before you wait for the government to change things around for you, which right now, look at the things that's being kept away from a lot of people. You know, relationship management, financial management. Why? Because it keeps you broke. If you don't manage relationship, you don't manage finances, you stay broke for the rest of your life. And the biggest relationship you need to take care of is with the big man upstairs. Get that relationship right, because all these things, mindset starts healing. Your spirit starts healing, and you start affirming yourself again instead of waiting for externally now or internal. Instead of looking for motivation, you're now self-inspired. Like one comes from within. That's where you need to be as a person to start being a resource to yourself.
And on my end, I'll end with this. The moment you decide to make that decision for yourself and you decide to say, hey, I'm going to go forth with this, and I'm going to make the decision to change my life and change the future generations of my family, my lineage, you're going to notice a lot of pushback. You're going to notice a lot of people being filtered out in and out of your life. You're going to notice a lot of bridges burnt. You're going to notice that your identity is going to have to change. And also, you're going to have a lot of moments where you're going to doubt everything you've done. You're going to doubt your decisions. You're going to doubt the decision you made of trying to pursue something bigger than yourself. There's going to be a lot of moments of doubt. And with that, Jordan, I want you to pull up the TD Jakes video to hopefully we can end on a good note with the statement that it just made.
Working on something. I might not be impressive right now, but I'm working on something. I might not have any money right now, but I'm working on something. I may be a student in school living off of Roman noodles, but I'm working on something. I may have to study while you go to the basketball game, but I'm working on something. I may not get to do all the fun things that you get to do, but I'm working on something. I'm in the gym because I'm working on something. I'm on the field running because I'm working on something. I'm reading books at 2 o'clock in the morning because I'm working on something. I'm exercising because I'm working on something. Anytime you're working on something, you got to go through a period of suffering. And if you lose over here, you're going to win over there. Who am I talking to this morning?
Amen. Hallelujah. You're talking to us. You're talking to the Millionaire Goals Podcast, TD Jakes. Come speak at our conference. Respond to our RFP, our request for proposals, man. By the way, let's just end it right here, man. I'm just excited about the week ahead. I'm excited about the month of July. We have our company convention in the next couple of weeks in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand Arena. I just heard that from Patrick that I'm going to be interviewing Charlie Kirk for the national convention. Interviewing him. Will Gadar, who owns one of the top restaurants in New York, he's coming out. We got Khabib. Khabib's coming out too as well to our convention. So if you're out there and you're looking to connect and you say, Matt, these things start to make sense, man. I just need more solutions. I need to connect myself to the right environment. Go to the link below in the description column. Fill out the information so therefore we can reach out to you and we'll connect you with either ourselves here in Dallas or to one of our offices across the country that can help you plug into an environment to help you think like a millionaire, strategize like a millionaire. So therefore, one day, soon, you could become a first-generation cash flow millionaire. So with that being said, Milton, appreciate you on episode 29. See you next Wednesday for episode 30. We got some very interesting guests coming here and lined up for the rest of the month. That being said, please drop your comments, your thoughts, your questions in the comment section below. You might have some feedback for you for the next episode. That being said, I have Milton Alvarez. I'm your money smart guy. And until we meet again, continue to live smart, continue to love smart, and be money smart today. See you next week. Bye-bye.